Hi there, I'm David Benitez and this is Extreme Vocal Institute. And today we're going to be talking about something a little different, which is setting yourself up for vocal success. Now, what does success mean? There are a lot of different angles that this can be taken from, and the truth of the matter is this is going to be different for everybody. It all comes down to what your goals are. Not just in terms of what it is you want to do with your voice, but then what do you want to do with it after the fact? Looking into what is motivating you to go after these different types of art forms and what you want to be applying these things to moving forward once you get yourself to vocally where you want to be matters. Even if your own goals are different from that of someone else, that's okay, because the whole point of this is even though we're using these type of vocals to communicate something very intensive that can't be done through other means out into the world, the process is very personal. It's a very personal process that makes some a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable. We get lots of questions here, and I have many students come to me on a regular basis talking about issues with looking to other vocalists around them, or maybe people that they themselves look up to, and struggling with where they currently are. Thoughts of, am I doing the right things? Am I using my time the right way? Why don't I sound like this person? Why am I not there yet? Does this just come more naturally to some than others? The truth of the matter, again, is it's a very personal experience, and everybody develops in different ways and at different speeds. You're never going to sound exactly like somebody else. That's part of the beauty of what it is we're doing. Everybody has a very different set of tools, different bodies, and therefore very different voices. Because of this, this means that as you're developing and progressing into what you're going to be vocally, that you are going to be the only one that is doing so in the way that you are. So take that information, take this newfound sense of being able to develop yourself, and let's do something with that. We're going to talk about setting expectations and goals for yourself here in terms of metal vocals and how to carry yourself, manage your time, and go after different ideas and short-term and long-term goals to be able to, again, set yourself up for vocal success in whatever way that means for you. First and foremost, you want to think about and establish the what, when, and how first. Many people vocally want to get, quote, better at what they do, and when I'm having this discussion with people, the first thing I tend to ask is, what specifically? You want to make sure that you think of different areas of your voice initially to work on and the type of sound you're going for, which direction you want to move in, what is it that you are after, and what does better mean to you. Additionally, from there, you want to set a timeline for yourself. Even if it's not a very strict one, you do want to think about these sorts of things when starting to really work on your voice. You want to think about when, even if you don't have outside deadlines coming your way. Say you want to work on the higher end of your voice. For example, I want my high screams to sound better. I want them to develop. You want to think about some sort of checkpoint for yourself so that your workload isn't this just ambiguous kind of forever timeline that you're traveling down. Because without setting little checkpoints for yourself, it's very easy to feel stuck. I know there are many of you out there that do feel vocally stuck with where you are, or maybe you've felt this way in the past, or maybe this is a reoccurring thought and feeling that happens for you, where you kind of feel stagnant and stuck in place, like you can't progress forward. A lot of times this is because of not creating these checkpoints for yourself vocally. Because one of the most difficult things to track and to actually notice in the moment is gradual progress. Here at Extreme Vocal Institute, that is what we work with the most. We work with gradual progress because taking our time with all of these different vocal styles and techniques and all of our lessons here on our channel and everything that we teach here, we do so in a way that's going to hardwire this information into the brain and into the body to make sure that in the moment when you need it, you don't have to ultra focus on these things. And you can more so kind of check out a little bit and ride the wave of all of the newfound and good, healthy habits that you've been able to develop over time. That's the key here, because if we work too quickly or pile on everything all at once, you'll know a little bit more, but you're not going to know what to do with that information. And just because you can read something or see something like you are here, that doesn't mean your body's going to understand what's happening. So try and create little checkpoints for yourself. I want my highs to feel more comfortable in X amount of time. Try and schedule these things for yourself. Even if you don't necessarily meet each one, that's okay, because at least you're thinking about it in a different way. Being able to tackle goals is all about perspective, and creating perspective for yourself when there aren't exterior sources providing that perspective and context for you. Sometimes this is easier if you're someone in a band because you may be on a schedule. You may have to write a song in a certain amount of time, or be ready to record something in a couple of weeks, or maybe you're getting ready to do an album or play a show or go on tour, something like that. But unless you have those things, sometimes it's hard to create that for yourself. So this is just one example of how to be able to do that. Additionally, in creating these checkpoints, you want to think about how to get from A to B. Not only do you want to think about what it is you're doing and when you're going to do it, but how are you actually going to get there? What are you going to be doing between now and that point? And the answer should be diligent practice. As I always say, practice makes progress. And for many of you out there, that is the large issue. It's the feeling of being able to progress forward. And what we can do is make sure that you are on a regular basis, daily, giving yourself days off here and there for health benefit reasons, allowing yourself to really dig into these topics and dig into these more specific goals that you have for yourself. Put them on a timeline like this, and then, like I said earlier, think not just about the short term, but the long term as well. Thinking in this way will help you to be able to be focused on more than just one thing at a time. Very often, in lieu of having no direction in terms of what you're working on vocally, sometimes it becomes easy to hyper-focus and fixate too much on one little detail or one little aspect of your voice that you may not be happy with, and just hammering away at that, being upset about it, kind of ruins the rest of the experience as well. And a lot of the good things that can happen with the voice can kind of fall on deaf ears, your own ears in this example, by focusing too much on just one thing. I find that the best way to work on your voice for metal vocals and all vocals in general is to really burn the candle at both ends. In the sense of working in multiple directions and thinking of things from multiple viewpoints and working on more than just one thing at a time. Because this is what's going to help keep the body well-rounded and better acclimated, flexibility and fluidity-wise, to be able to adjust and learn from the type of work it is you're doing. Now, we've talked a lot about structure. We've been talking about how to set these kind of goals for yourself and how to go about them. But the most crucial question you want to ask yourself is why? Why are these things important to you? And why is it that you are so determined to do these things? In terms of different styles of vocal, like someone will come to me and say, oh, I really want to increase my fry ability. I just want to really scream fry well. Why? Think about what it is about the sounds you're going for that makes you not just enjoy them, but actually sparks that initial, oh, I have to do this feeling. Really familiarize yourself with the things that excite you about these types of vocals and the types of music that you want to apply them to, whether that's your own music or that of others. A lot of times I have people write this down because it's really good to have something tangible to look at and lay the answers to these kinds of questions in front of you so you can really kind of pick apart what it is you're doing here and why. If range is the goal, if you want to have the lowest lows and the highest highs like many out there do, why? Is it because other vocalists have done that? Is it because you want to be able to do more than others have been able to do in the past? Is it because that's going to help you communicate something that you don't know how to otherwise? There aren't any wrong answers here, but it's important to ask the question so it's not just an ambiguous floating around, oh, I just want to be better than I am, without real reason. Making these things tangible is what can really help you to create the kind of structure that's needed to be able to go after these things. And then as you hit those checkpoints, feeling good about what it is you're doing. That's something that many people tend to forget. And I know I've personally done this a lot in the past. When you're working on something very diligently, especially if you're under a time crunch and you're trying to get yourself to sound a certain way or trying to increase ability, it's very easy to get frustrated with yourself and forget about why it is we're doing these things and forget to enjoy the experience of working on them. So creating these little checkpoints for yourself and knowing why you're doing them and why it's important to you helps to give you these little moments of joy factor. Remembering to enjoy what it is you're doing and be able to perpetuate yourself forward because of that enjoyment and the excitement in terms of why it is you're doing these things. Remembering what initially created that spark that made you want to go after this so badly and keeping that with you the whole time and not losing steam in that regard will also help you get from A to B in a more enjoyable way and in a more efficient way, because of the many different ways that the mind and the body are connected and how that directly affects the voice. Now, like I've been saying, it's all about perspective. It's very important to have inspiration, whether that's coming from within or coming from externally, from those around you or from those at higher levels. Remember that they are not you and that you are your own person, especially when it comes to being a metal vocalist. And what you accomplish doesn't have to be exactly the same as the next person, or the one after that, or the one behind them, or behind you, or above you. It's good to always look around because the way we even learn to communicate in the first place is through emulation. So bits of this type of mentality are just built into us genetically. We learn by watching others and mimicking motions and actions. That being said, once we get to a certain point in terms of being able to create sound, it becomes less about if you can sound like what you want from someone else and if you can really sound like yourself. And what is it that you want to do with that? So having your own goals that are entirely separate from that of others is going to be very important, also in terms of trying to eliminate that feeling of just plateauing and being stagnant in what it is you're doing. Because once you hit that point, once you kind of reach that flat point, it's very difficult to kind of will yourself past that when you're kind of stuck with all these different feelings of, oh, I wish I was better. I don't feel like I'm good enough right now. There are so many other people that haven't been doing this as long that are better, or these people are farther along than I am, or I just wish I was farther along. This will help you to avoid hitting that point. And if you're already there, you can use everything we've talked about today to create the structure for yourself to take these kind of baby steps to be able to get yourself beyond where you currently are. And even if that takes more time than you anticipated, that's totally fine. Everybody's different. We all sound different. We all look different. Our vocals all develop differently. All of our tastes are different. We're all going in different directions here. But we can do so knowing and kind of keeping internally the The fact that everything is going to all come together as you continue to push forward. Every little piece of you taking these steps is going to continue to be important. It can be kind of daunting and a little frustrating to feel like you're only creeping forward one little step at a time, and it might feel like you're wasting time. A lot of people view things like warming up on a regular basis or making sure you're vocalizing for a certain amount of time per day and working on different things technique-wise and lots of like the nitty-gritty things as kind of time wasting because it's not directly what they want to be doing. But all of these little moving parts of the process continue to be important, not only when you hit these checkpoints, but beyond, to make sure that you're able to retain and maintain all of the different good things that you have established for yourself and developed over your time as a metal vocalist. This is something that I myself here at Extreme Vocal Institute and others out there who teach and coach do. This is our whole job. It's being able to work with people like you guys who may feel like you're stuck and feel like you're struggling, like you can't progress, or that your voice isn't developing correctly or not in the way that you would want or the way you intended. And it's being able to do things like this, sitting down and creating these goals, understanding what's important to you and what isn't, looking at the what, when, and how, and very importantly, like I said, the why. Taking all of this information and crafting a trajectory for you to go down. And together, being able to find what it's going to take to get from A to B and beyond. So in conclusion, being able to achieve vocal success may not be what you thought it was going to be. And that's fine. It's not going to be that of other people. And you're not going to really know what that means until you start to look for that yourself. So look into setting goals for yourself. Create little checkpoints. Remember to have fun while you're doing these things. Think both short-term and long-term. Burn the candle in both ends in a positive way by making sure you keep yourself well-rounded with your practice and look at multiple aspects of your voice at any given time so that you're not putting yourself in a little box or frustrating yourself too much. And if you feel like you're plateauing, know that if you start to take these steps, even if they're small at first, you can and will get to where you want to be. If this video was helpful for you today, go ahead and give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll be starting to cover more topics like this, in addition to all of the different vocal-specific things that we talk about here at Extreme Vocal Institute. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, scream responsibly.